My husband planned a trip to visit my brother and his kids and told me in front of my mother. When I was incredulous, my mother started guilting me into how this isn't about me, but about her, and how when she is no longer here, she wants all her grandkids to see each other. I ran to the bathroom, cried, came back, and told my husband alone that if he wanted to go, he could take our kids, but I would not be going. His response is, "That's disappointing." We have not spoken since about more than kids' logistics. The background is I don't talk to my brother and haven't for years. We have each had 3 kids, and we haven't seen them in 5 years. We have always had issues and barely talked ever. But 5 years ago, we all decided to do a beach trip with the families and go back to my country of origin. When we got there, I realized a man who broke into my house and attempted to rape me 20 years ago was in the same resort staying with his family. I was in disbelief and told my husband the history and how I did not feel comfortable around this man. Well, much to my surprise, my brother and mother hung out with this other man the entire time we were there. On the beach, going out to dinner, etc. Literally the entire time. Barely talked to us. My brother and mother absolutely know what happened. They were there for the aftermath, picking up the pieces of my apartment and fear of sleeping thereafter. When I confronted my mother about it, her response was that it was 20 years ago and I need to let it go. To say that was an awful trip would be an understatement. I felt like my emotions and experiences and trauma were not important and not valid, so I was beyond hurt and upset. I also have a stepdaughter, and my brother also made several comments about how we were taking her away from her mother and we were awful people as a result. And when I tried to explain my SD was abused by her mother and the very valid reasons we have custody, he would tell me to stop talking, he doesn't care and doesn't want to hear it. I could not make this stuff up. That is how awful he is. Even before this trip, my brother and I barely spoke because he has been verbally abusive. Like my father was worse. But that is another story. My brother has called me a whore and other such words. And yet he would call, seek me out whenever he needed money because I was the responsible one in the family. Money for rent, for expenses, etc. I always did and swallowed it because family, per my mother. One time he asked to do a credit card in my name, which he would use for his business because he couldn't get a bank loan. And I said no. Then my mom called to guilt me into it, saying it's family. Always her way to guilt me into things. So I said I would with certain parameters, such as giving me an accounting of his finances, once a quarter and whatnot. He was furious and said I needed to give him the card with no strings attached. I said no. We didn't talk for years, and my mom still throws that in my face like I failed. Moreover, my brother is always rude to me whenever we have had to engage for my mom's health, talks down to me, is condescending, has made judgments regarding my family, etc. My husband is aware of all these things and how much pain and hurt it has caused me, let alone how it has affected my relationship with my mother. While mothers are not supposed to have favorites, there is a clear favorite and I am not it. I get that husband wants all the cousins to meet. They are all similar ages, and my mom wants nothing more than for them to meet. But it makes me sick to my stomach to be around my brother, who has been so awful and abusive towards me, criticizes everything, etc. His wife just defers to him and shakes her head when he says stuff, but she stays quiet. So my brother just keeps at it. Now I feel like my husband and mom are going to come down hard on me like I'm the AH for saying I don't want to go. Despite me saying he can go with my kids, odds are he will not, though that remains to be seen. I feel like my experiences, feelings, and emotions are not valid and that I need to set them aside for the kids, that I am unimportant in this equation. There is nothing I would not do for my kids, but I am even concerned that my brother is going to make inappropriate statements in front of them because he always does. He is disrespectful to the nth degree. I am sick inside and can't talk to anyone about this, so here I am on Reddit. Should I just suck it up and go, or does how I feel about wanting zero contact with my brother matter in this? Now, here are the comments. Comment 1. Unfortunately, this is real. years in the making. I think I am so far in it that it's hard to make sense and see how nuts this situation is. Writing this down helped me think about it a bit less emotionally. I'm going to have a sit-down with husband after I am feeling less upset. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Don't go and don't back down. Your mom and brother are awful. Your husband was wrong to book a trip to see brother's family without consulting you, knowing how he treats you. Can you make your own getaway as an excuse to avoid that inevitable shit show? Comment 3. What ethnicity are you? Now for the next story. Me and a buddy, let's call him Zeth, made plans to hang out over the weekend in my city. He told me he was going to bring his brother. Zeth has 9 brothers. I should have asked. I told him, the more the merrier. They arrive at my place after a 1-hour drive, and who do I see at my front door? Chester, the molester, a registered sex offender. I told him I had no intentions of being around Chester and told Zeth and his brother they needed to get back in the truck and off my property. Now, here are the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Honestly, why are you friends with this person if you know they regularly associate with a sex offender? Comment 2. They are siblings, and I'm pretty sure he's helping him get back on his feet. Comment 3. Not the idiot, and your friend should know better. Now, for the next story. So I've been going back and forth a lot lately, and I really would like outside perspective. I feel awful about ending things with my now ex-girlfriend, 32, and me, 39. So we hit it off very well. Was on the same page about mostly everything. We are both single parents, and the time came to introduce us to each other's kids. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and she has 2 children about the same age, male, female. My daughter is very quiet and shy like me. She tends to go with the flow and is overall a wonderful little girl. But she can step out of line, but I am quick to set her straight. She has never yelled, threw a tantrum, or anything. When she gets upset, she'll start to whine, but I stop that immediately and we talk it out. I tell her to use her words and to tell me what's going on. My ex warned me beforehand that it wasn't that way with her kids and was a little nervous for me to meet them. So the day came and I met them. Now I will say she does have very sweet kids, full of life and very caring. However, the day I met them was kind of a shocker. I watched as the son was all over the place and fighting with his little sister, which siblings will do, but then I watched him punch, kick, throw her on the ground, jump on her, and then choke her. I was a bit concerned, like, is that normal behavior? I chalked it up to it being their first time meeting me, but no, it was every time I saw them, meltdown after meltdown daily and multiple times a day. She told me he struggles with certain issues that I will not put here, and to be honest, I feel very bad because I know it's a struggle as a parent. But some of them were just pure tantrums. On a level 10, not getting an iPad would result in crying, yelling, "I hate you, you're the worst," then rolling on the ground, flailing his arms around. It didn't matter if he was at home or in public, and it became a very big concern for me as I date with a purpose. I told her that I did not feel comfortable with my daughter around them, one being how they talk and treat you very disrespectfully, and I don't want my daughter picking that up, to the physical concern. Putting my own needs and wants aside, as a parent, I cannot put my daughter in a situation where she can potentially be hurt by those outbursts. I felt bad because my ex went to tell me how much she's worked with him, and it was even worse years ago, and he's come such a long way. Which, granted, I'll give her that, but my concerns are still very real and valid. He cannot control his emotions, and he gets very physical. I've seen him punch his mom many times, throw shoes at her. Hell, he's punched me in the head twice. I do feel bad for her, as she didn't do anything, and I still very much care about her, but I have to put my daughter first. She told me her friends pretty much said it was like a punch in the gut, and I was wrong. So am I an idiot? Now here are the comments. Comment 1. Your daughter is going to be exposed to that kind of behavior at school, with friends, etc. I have 2 pretty sweet kids that sound like yours. One of their best friends is a boy with ADHD who is big for his age and sounds like your ex's son. It stresses me out sometimes, but he's a good kid and he's finally learning boundaries and empathy. You're definitely not the idiot, but it's asterisk possible. Asterisk you lost out on a great relationship because you were being a little overprotective. I don't judge you. I probably would have done the same thing in your shoes. Comment 2. That's what I'm torn over. She is one of a kind and rare. Definitely checked all my boxes, and I do have a very long list of boundaries standards. I see what you're getting at. I have been told by my ex-wife that I am very protective. Can't help it. She's my little girl. Comment 3. Not the idiot. It's not her or her son's fault, but it's not your responsibility. If you didn't have kids, maybe you could make it work, but you have to worry about your own child first and foremost. You did the right thing, ending it quickly instead of dragging it out too long. Now for the next story. My 45-year-old male, current wife, Alicia, 29-year-old female, is the stepmother of my 2 kids, 10-year-old female, 8-year-old female. My kids' biological mom died 2 years ago from a rare form of cancer called mesothelioma. From diagnosis to losing her, it was just over 4 months. The hospital that had treated my late wife offered grief support groups that specialized in helping kids deal with their grief. I decided to take my kids to the support groups. Alicia was working in the gift shop of the hospital, so we'd pass each other regularly. My kids were also getting private sessions with a social worker, so I'd sit in the coffee shop and could see Alicia from there. One day I struck up a conversation. One thing led to another, and we married 6 months ago. When I was married to my late wife, I never imagined that my kids would need a nanny, but we started off poor. Things have changed financially. Alicia is a great person who helped me get out of my shell and socialize, always getting me thoughtful gifts. However, she admitted she didn't anticipate the thankless, back-breaking tasks that come with raising kids. Her mom did everything for her growing up, so she doesn't know how to cook, but neither do I. She didn't drive much, so the thought of carpool lanes makes her want to tear her hair out. Kids can be fickle. Alicia ordered pasta for them once, and my older daughter asked if she could make it like her mom did, and that really set everything off on the wrong foot. The final straw was when my younger daughter got sick. My wife and I were scrambling because neither of us knew how to make the special soup my daughter wanted, and Alicia had never cared for a sick person other than me, and I just gritted and bare it. I ended up sending Alicia to a hotel because if she got sick, I probably would too, and I also didn't want her getting sick. Period. I realized this was a toxic situation and that I did not marry my wife because I needed a cook or a maid. I did not need her to be what my first wife was to love her. After that, I told the girls we would be hiring a nanny. We were already outsourcing cleaning, so the nanny agreed to take care of the kids and cook meals. My daughters were upset, and even though the nanny we hired was the sweetest older woman, they asked why Alicia isn't taking them shopping or watching TV with them. School just started, and both kids are already sick. The nanny was supposed to be off, but my older daughter heard Alicia saying she was calling the nanny because this was her area of expertise. She got upset and said she didn't need a nanny. I asked if the nanny was mean, and she said no. Alicia got upset and told her to show all the adults some respect. Then my younger daughter started crying. Am I the idiot for hiring a nanny? I think my daughters need to be kinder to the situation. I watched the nanny cams. The nanny is not being abusive. Since she came, I am less stressed. Alicia is less stressed and doesn't feel like she's being forced into a home economics class where it's all about what she's doing wrong. Now, here are the comments. Comment 1. Well, I don't need to be married to a Betty Crocker. My late wife did most of the at-home things, but it didn't make her an interesting person or somebody more worthy of love. Not to speak ill of the dead, but sometimes when you get bogged down in the household things, you can lose touch with your partner who is out there in the world and become rather sanctimonious, almost like a broken record. Alicia and I are married because we support each other and understand each other, and there's nobody else I'd rather be with. I find it sad that people are just asking what she brings to the table as if relationships are just quid pro quo. And if you must know, Alicia began, but didn't finish. A degree in business administration. I own several Airbnbs and am also a landlord. She helps deal with the vendors, sets budgets, and does most of the interior design planning. Also deals with the property manager and replies to guest reviews. Comment 2. Your wife is just along for the money train and your kids are going to pay the price. What does your wife bring to the family? She made you get out of a shell. Doesn't sound like strong building blocks, but like she saw an easy mark of loneliness. Comment 3. You don't have a nanny problem, you have a wife problem. And it's pretty freaking sad that you're more worried about how she feels than your own children. You're the idiot. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day!